This afternoon is a department update from Director of Public Works, Chad Yeagley, and I at this time will pass this off to Chad.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm going to take this opportunity to cover a yearly requirement by the state to cover MS4 training. Do we have the slides ready by chance? No? Okay. No worries. Well, of course, I do have a copy of the slides that I can present.
I mean, if you want, if I may, if you want to go and put it on a flash drive, we can go through the rest of the agenda and you can.
Oh, that's fine.
We could put it to the end of the meeting if you would prefer. I'd be
Yeah, that'd
fine
be
with
great.
that.
I could do that, absolutely.
Okay. Then why don't we go through the review of the rest of the agenda, and I'll give you that time when you get back down here, then we'll go back into that. Thank you, Chad. All right, so we'll come back to the department update. So we will move on to the resolutions for Monday's meeting. Our first resolution is authorizing the proper officials of the City of Lebanon to file a grant application under the Pennsylvania Municipal Assistance Program for the preparation of a comprehensive plan for the City of Lebanon. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the City of Lebanon's comprehensive plan is a long-range planning document, and it guides decisions about land use information, infrastructure, transportation, housing, recreation, economic development. And it also serves as the foundation for zoning ordinances, capital improvement planning, and coordination with regional and county planning efforts. So our current plan was adopted in 2004, making it more than 20 years old. And that's where they kind of draw the line. They don't like for you to go more than 20 years without reviewing it. So it needs to be reviewed to determine if it's still reflective of the city's current needs, priorities, growth patterns, et cetera. So an updated comprehensive plan would be very critical, or a critical tool to help the city make informed decisions, help us to secure future grant funding, support private investment, and improve coordination with our neighbors surrounding the City of Lebanon. So Lebanon County is currently in the process of updating its own comprehensive plan, and we're going to update our plan after theirs is completed, which hopefully will be this fall or so. And that will allow us to align our local goals with a broader regional vision. So to support this project, we plan to apply for a Municipal Assistance Program grant, which it's known as the MAP grant. And that would be through the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, and we're applying this fall in this funding round. Our total project cost would be $79,000. It's a 50-50 matching grant. So we're requesting $39,500 from MAP program, and then our local match, of course, would be the same of $39,500. We would budget those funds in the 2026 budget.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Any questions from council on this resolution?
How likely is it that you'll get the grant?
We feel pretty confident.
Usually?
Yeah, usually with the planning grants, it's a little bit easier, not as competitive. And I think the state really likes when you are planning and trying to move forward with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what the county's plan looks like thus far?
I mean, Janelle and I sit on the committee. They've had 2 meetings so far, so it's kind of hard to tell at this point.
Okay.
And I would imagine the draft will be online, available online, or the finished plan, I know for sure,
Yeah.
will be online.
Yeah, I would assume that, I don't know if they'll release the whole thing or portions of it, summaries. I'm not sure how they're proposing to do that. They haven't really discussed that in the first 2 meetings, but I'm sure they're going to be releasing some sort of information and, or at least holding a public meeting where you can come and look at the document or at least hear about it, so.
Is the MAP grant something that Lebanon County also applied for, and did they receive it?
Okay, thanks, Janelle.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Any other questions from council? And from the press? All right. Then we'll move on to our next, who would like to take this resolution?
I'll take it.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Moving on to our next resolution. This resolution is authorizing the proper officials of the City of Lebanon to file an application with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for a Main Street Matters Program grant for facade improvements in the Central Business District. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the City of Lebanon, through Janelle, is preparing to submit a grant application for $100,000 to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development under the Main Street Matters program to fund a facade improvement program, and that's going to be targeting the Central Business District. The Central Business District, I have a map up here if anyone wants to view it. For the most part, it's not a completely rectangular shape, but for the most part, it's going from 5th to 12th Street and Willow to Chestnut Street for the most part. Again, you'd have to look at the map to be certain that your property would be located in there. So the program's designed to support property owners in making permanent, street visible exterior improvements to commercial and mixed-use buildings. It's building upon recent public investment in the streetscape improvement, pedestrian enhancements, infrastructure upgrades downtown, and the goal is to further revitalize the city's historic core. So the eligible applicants would include commercial and mixed-use property owners, business owners or tenants with the property owner's written permission. The property must be located within the Central Business District. And the program is a 50-50 matching grant with up to $10,000, which could be awarded per property. And what that means is a $10,000 grant would support a $20,000 total project. A $5,000 grant would support a $10,000 total project. So the applicants have to have some skin in the game. They have to fund at least 50% of their total project cost. And again, only permanent exterior improvements that are visible from the public right-of-way will be eligible. But it does include the more narrow streets, so like Liberty. So if Queens Natural Foods wanted to, which they have expressed interest in applying for their facade along Liberty Street. So all projects will be reviewed by the city's design review board in accordance with established design standards that are set forth in the zoning ordinance. And just some examples of eligible improvements would be storefront restoration, window and door replacements, masonry and brickwork repair, painting or facade cleaning, exterior lighting, restoration of architectural features. So we're very excited to be applying for this. And usually what you tend to notice when you implement a program like this is you get one person, next thing you know, oh, look how nice that looks. Maybe I could do that. And it just kind of kickstarts several properties being improved. Now, again, we're applying for $100,000, so, and we've already reached out to people and asked, do you have an interest? Because we have to show that there is an interest. We have gone through this several times. A lot of the storefronts in the downtown and the central business district have used facade improvement money to make the improvements. So again, we're very excited to be just adding an additional layer to all the things that we're trying to work on to improve our core.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Any questions from council?
I had a question, just as you mentioned several times, we've had the facade improvement available. Do you know the most recent time?
It would have been through Lebanon Foundation, and it was when Kelly and Amy were the downtown managers, so 18, 19? Completed it? Okay. Okay, but I think what would have been the first year? So we got designated as a main street in 2018. Okay. Okay.
So then how long is the grant, if you get it, how long is the grant period open typically? Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
You mentioned having an interest and demonstrating interest. Do you have an expectation of when the grant would be received by the city after application? What's
this-
our expectation of timeline in this
Do you know when they
scenario?
would award it?
Okay.
Any other questions? From the press? Okay.
So when you're applying for the grant, I believe they asked if there is general interest from the community. So what did you do, Janelle, to determine that?
So we put out something to the public. We have a letter of interest form. And so far we've gotten things like, there's a property, it's actually two facades that have a fire escape that conjoins the two properties, and it's right in the front of their facade. So that's something that they submitted for. Another was for brick repainting and painting of the facade. So basically keeping the existing look of it, but freshening it up because it's got healing paint and borders and I think another one, they wanted to add some lighting to the outside of their facade, as well as some other door painting, replacing windows, window panes, things like that. That's a couple that I can think of. Some have provided actual estimates from a contractor, others have just put together a general estimate on the form, because we do ask that, and they range, I think the lowest might have been 10,000, and then the max was actually showing $36,000 investment.
I do have one more question. Just in the case that we do receive the grant, how do we make a determination of which projects would be funded? How do we prioritize those?
Go ahead.
So we have, since the program was done so recently, and we were very involved with the Main Street program, when that was established, we have evaluation sheets where we look at and we grade it based on certain things, and those are in our policies and procedures that were submitted to the grant. So I have a copy here if you want to look at them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle.
Okay, any other questions? Who would like to take this resolution?
I will. I can take it if you'd like. Give it to George. Give it to George.
All right, George. Sean defers.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, Monday, we'll have some remarks. You can see that there on the bottom of your sheet from both Kay Coyle and Laurie Funk. And yeah, that brings us to the end of our review for our agenda for Monday. So Chad, if you're ready, and
Absolutely.
we'll bring it back to you.
Thank you very much again, Council. So I would like to take this opportunity to go over the state-required training for MS4. There we go. So first, just a overall description of what MS4 is. It is the municipal separate storm sewer system. So basically, everything that takes the water off the streets and moves it to our waterways. There are two separate types of storm systems that are utilized in Pennsylvania. There's a combined storm sewer system where the water is captured and then funneled to a water treatment plant, and then all of it is treated. And then there is what we have here in the city, which is a separate storm sewer system where everything is funneled into the actual local waterways and then moves on. So who is responsible? The city is the permittee for all of the waterways within us, and we actually are part of the Chesapeake watershed. So we are the ones responsible for compliance. However, anybody in the city, residents, business owners, people transitioning through the city, so on, are responsible in some way. Employees have a little bit of a greater responsibility because it's up to us to kind of find those illicit discharges, which we'll discuss later, and police the systems as we can and keep them in operating and maintenance order. Some of those requirements are what we're doing tonight: public interaction meetings. My road crews are out daily. They're taking inventory of our systems when they can and looking for pollution in the waterways. And then the administrative aspects of that: record keeping, permit issuing, so on and so forth. Roles and responsibilities. There's 6 main control or minimum control measures that are abided by. Public education and outreach. We try to teach the public about illicit discharges. We keep stuff on the website to make sure they're informed of MS4 procedures. There's also reports that are available for viewing and public meetings. Illicit discharges and detection are a main portion of what we do. We're looking for those contaminants that could get into the actual water base, whether it's through illegal dumping into the stormwater system, road construction that gets onto the roadways and then washes into the systems, so on and so forth. We do outfall inspections every year. We go through and check everything that's getting discharged into the creeks and make sure there are no traces of contaminants. We do that once per year. And we also work with the county to update the GIS systems and mapping to ensure that our systems are properly tracked and maintained. New developments are also reviewed to make sure that they have proper MS4 measures in place before they're approved in the planning processes. We also have additional responsibilities when it comes to post-construction. Again, we're trying to capture on a construction site anything before it leaves the construction site and keep it maintained so it doesn't go into the actual system itself. Erosion and sediment control are part of that. No permits are issued by the city prior to the county giving them an NPDES permit, which comes from the Department of or DEP. And we also make sure that we're looking for on the streets any type of residue that might lead to an illicit discharge. So if somebody has like, if they're parking in their grass, for instance, and it's developing mud and that dirt is then getting into the roadway, that's considered an illicit discharge, and we try to get in there and address that before it becomes more of a problem. Part of our good housekeeping, we get out there. I spoke about doing the outfall inspections. We also look at our catch basins, try to clean our catch basins as much as possible, keep them free of debris, vegetation, so on and so forth. We have an inventory of all of our catch basins, and we have best management practices that we follow for new developments. We go out and inspect the retention ponds and so on and so forth. Pretty much yearly, we go out and try to do that. So commonplace procedures here when we go down and do our inspections, we inform the residents if it's on their property about maintenance of the facility itself. Most of our assets are actually located in our city right-of-ways, so the responsibility falls on us. So we try to make sure that we're addressing those as appropriate when they fall into disrepair. We also do annual employee training. This slide deck is very similar to what has gone over with the employees, so that all the employees know what they're looking for when they're out in the field working on a day-to-day basis. Illicit discharges. A big portion of what we do with illicit discharges is trying to inform the public and educate the public on what an illicit discharge is. So grass clippings, for instance, are a big no-no. We're supposed to try to keep them out of the gutters and out of the storm drains as much as possible, because those end up in our river and streams and then create issues once they get into the Chesapeake Bay. Phosphates and other stuff and nitrogen, as they break down in the streams, causes algae blooms and so on and so forth in the Chesapeake Bay area. DEP has recently updated a list of what is allowed and not allowed by discharges. So in compliance with these initiatives, we try to maintain a record of reports, or if public safety or any other resident reports an illicit discharge, we get out there and we file a report with DEP, and those can lead to significant fines, notice of violations, so on and so forth. If you see anything that's out there, feel free to call my office or DEP directly to report an illicit discharge. And that's about it for the amazing world of MS4.
So I'd like to go back and talk a little bit about what is permitted so that residents know. So, of course, firefighting activities are permitted.
Yes.
That's straight water. If someone uses irrigation and the drainage from that is permitted, if you are a resident and you wash your car in your driveway, as long as you're only using, you're not supposed to be using cleaning agents at all. Previous to this, as long as it was a certain type of cleaning agent, usually the non-sudsy type, but here they're saying no cleaning agent, so it would basically be wetting your car down. Any commercial washing would not be permitted. They like when you try and, if you're gonna wash your car, to try and do it in a grassy area rather than on your driveway that washes into the storm drain. And of course, if you have condensation from your air conditioning, that would be permitted. And if you're watering your lawn, again, that's just straight water. They used to allow if you had a swimming pool, and if you would stop putting chlorine in it and you would test it and it would be down to 0, they used to allow you to discharge it. But now they're saying they want you to discharge it to your lawn or some other pervious surface where it could absorb into that instead of it going down in the drain. So I think that's important to know, because I think probably the most common illicit discharge that we see are people mowing lawns and allowing the grass to go out onto the streets. So that's the biggest one. So usually Public Works is notifying people about that. But the other ones, I thought it was important enough to bring special attention to that so people are aware of it.
Another frequent one is sump pumps. Some people will run their hose out into the gutter, and as long as it's just straight clean water coming out of the basement, it should be fine. It's when you get into, we've come across people that were discharging their washer into the street, and that's a no-no.
Or sewer.
I was just going to
Definitely
say, I
no-no.
remember an incident a few
Yeah.
years ago. So you test the discharge, the stormwater discharge into the streams. You said you go around and test those.
Yeah, all the
yearly
outfalls,
or-
yes.
Yeah, all the outfalls. How often, just off the top of your head, how often do you find contaminants that you need to go after?
Last year, we have approximately 180 roughly outfalls that we inspect that go into the Hazeldike and the Quiddy. I think we found 2 last year that were questionable that we had to send to the lab to see if there was actual contaminant there.
And we actually also inspect the Brandywine as well. It's not a concrete channel, it's a natural stream, but that one is checked as well.
Okay. Any other questions from council on the MS4 program? Okay. From the press? All right. I think that's a night then. So thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
And
Chad.
thank you, everybody else, for being here. Have a great night, and I will see you all Monday.
Thank you.
Will do. Thanks a lot, Sheriff, for connecting.
That was interesting.
Oh, I did forget.
Some of that stuff I didn't know, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I remember Jay and Carol Morris, they always dumped out their pool. What if it's a saltwater pool?